So building the product backlog, so we will try to focus some of the areas, how we basically create the product backlog. And as a part of this building the product backlog, the stakeholder needs, we will try to see uh, how we write the user stories and what are the different three important C's which are part of the user story creation. So the product owner, as we call, is accountable for an effective product backlog management, but certainly it does not mean that only will populate the product backlog. So in building the product backlog, product owners should keep the following things in mind. He should collaborate with appropriate individuals. He should capture just enough information to understand the needs. So details will come later, but then he should document enough items for the teams to start the first sprint. So statements used to document the stakeholder needs is designed to be simple and short enough to fit in one side of the index card or post-it note. It is always written from the customer perspective to help define what is referred to as voice of the customer. The most common format for capturing a need is based upon one popularized by Mike Conn. Mike Conn in user stories basically says, as a role or as a persona, I can take actions so that outcome or value. So this statement is simple yet more powerful, and it provides enough information for the Scrum team to understand a particular need of a stakeholder. So it can also be used to document other types of product backlog items such as changes, defects, improvement, etc. if desired. So the card that is created uh, represents first of the three C's, which is identified by Ron Jeffries in his article Essential XPs. So card, conversation, and confirmation. So card serves as a reminder that further conversation and confirmations are needed. So card, the smallest card of which essential information to represent the customer requirement is captured. Second is conversation. So this is more detailed. So more detail is required for gathering later through the conversation with the customer. The last one is confirmation, which represents acceptance criteria as explained by the customer. So that's how with the focus on building the product backlog and understanding the stakeholders' needs, we can always write the user stories with the help of these three C's, which is card, conversation, and confirmation. So product backlog items, which is PBI. So Scrum Guide do not prescribe any label for different types of product backlog items. However, there are commonly used ways by which you design or you define your product backlog items. The foremost is the epic. So epic is the is at the top level. So if you see an example, if you think of doing an online flight reservation, that is the epic. So epic certainly needs to be broken down into features, and features certainly needs to be broken down into user stories. So in case of epic of online flight reservation, the features would be searching for flight, making a reservation, and changing reservation. So these features should also be further broken down. So let's try to break down the feature of searching a flight. So if you see, when you break down this feature into user story, as a customer, I can see the cost in monetary amount or airline points so that I can choose how I want to pay for the flight. So this is the way by which you can break down your features into user stories, which can be worked upon by the development team for their usage. So these product backlog items in form of the user stories can be used by development team for estimating their efforts and developing the overall plan for the development efforts. So criteria for ordering the product backlog. So we need to be transparent, and there has to be a understandable criteria which must be defined, which must be decided, which can contribute to maximize the product value. So we need to understand uh, ordering of product backlog can happen based on multiple ways. First, it can be based on the value which the user stories bring onto the table. It can be based on the priorities which are there, which user stories bring across. It can be based on the time criticality, on dependencies, and overall risk.